two great people, Tego and Tracy Venturi, the Venturi Real Estate Group from Keller Williams Realty. You can call them and their team directly at the #1 real estate website and telephone number here in New Mexico. That number is 505, you do need that, 448-8888. That's 505-448-8888. Or you can also find them directly at welcomehomeabq.com. That's welcomehomeabq.com. The last show of the year, powering through, I don't know the number of the shows. I'm sure Tego and Tracy certainly do. And we welcome them for the final episode of Albuquerque Real Estate Talk with Tego and Tracy. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, you made me go and look now. So 392, show 392. Wow. Yep. Yeah. And, we did a Christmas show last week. Hope everybody had a wonderful Merry Christmas, right? We did, right, Tracy? We ate too much.
We did. We ate well. Yeah. It was good. So, New Year's.
Yes.
Here it is, 2020. Can you believe it?
2020.
2022. I was thinking about Y2K again,
Yeah.
The year 2000 when everything was going to be a big mess. And here it is, 2022.
Everything's always going to be a big mess, right? I mean, that's just, there's always something, right? There's always the next, what was that movie? The one with Will Smith and the aliens and, there's always some drama coming down around the corner, right? Anyway, sorry, I digress. So anyway, Tracy, crazy, interesting year in real estate?
Totally, yeah. I was talking to different team members in anticipation of recording this show for the new year.
Yep.
And I thought, there's got to be some interesting stories that in selling 500 properties in a year, there's going to be some interesting stories. And, most of the interesting stories revolve around success stories for our sellers and buyers and people who didn't think that they could either buy a house or didn't know how they could buy and sell at the same time or to just be able to sell and get through it. So a lot of times, people are having, they're in family, not crisis, but not the situation they thought they'd be in, and they need to sell their home, whether it's because of an estate or somebody passed away or divorce, different situations that come up, and it's stressful. And we've been so honored to be able to hold people's hands through that and help guide them and make it as painless as possible and help them, net their goals. So that's some of the things we'll talk about today. There's a lot of different, end of year things out. We're looking forward, right? 2022, a new year. And real estate hasn't slowed down, Tego. We've, hear people saying, COVID this, that, but people still need to buy and people still need to sell, and the market is still really good for that.
Well, and it's a good segue into this story that I saw from it was in Albuquerque Business First, and the headline was, "The Housing Market Seen Fewer Bidding Wars." So you talk about some of the stories of 2021 in the residential real estate world in Albuquerque, and one of them was bidding wars.
Right. For sure.
And so when we say bidding wars, what do we mean, Tracy?
We're talking about when a house is for sale and they get multiple offers and people are basically, it's like an auction, right? They're bidding and putting in what they are willing to pay and what terms they're willing to buy the house under that are maybe above and beyond what's being asked for from the buyer.
Obviously price. Could be something about terms, could be the way if they're financing, or maybe they're going to pay cash, maybe they're going to waive inspections or be lax on inspections or whatever it is, certain things to give. Lease back, let the seller stay in the home for a little bit longer to be the offer that gets chosen out of the multitude of offers that we saw. And it's interesting because this headline says, the housing market has seen fewer bidding wars. And I've got my own opinion on this, Tracy, but I want your opinion. I mean, earlier in the summer, April, May, June, it was pretty frantic.
Earlier this year, one of my stories was the house that I represented personally. We have a team of realtors that work with us that help buyers and sellers, and we have, listing specialists or home selling specialists. And I listed one and put it for sale for a client. And it was crazy. It was Northeast Heights, and it was a huge opportunity, a house that it was all original. Linoleum floors, all the kitchen cabinets and counters, everything was original. The trees were overgrown. Nobody had lived there for a few years, and it had been donated to a charity, right?
Yeah.
And we had 23 offers, and significantly above list price.
So even though it needed work, it was in the right neighborhood, if you will, right?
The right bones in the right neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it ended up selling for about $95,000 over the list price, which the list price was higher than any past sales had justified. So it was also listed on the high end of the scale.
Yeah, it wasn't like, the listing price was some bare bottom number just to try to get an auction effect. It was actually
priced pretty
to market based on, what had sold in the past. But of course, earlier in the summer, things, just really heated up. And so we see this headline. I'm going to keep going back to this until I get you to answer the question.
Seeing fewer bidding wars.
Yeah, housing market seen fewer bidding wars, just last week, or was it this week? Anyway, in the Business First. So what do you think is the reason that there's fewer bidding wars? And I know we've seen that here.
Oh, so that's
just on our team, in our little group, big group, we're not seeing it as quite as crazy it was earlier in the summer.
I thought your question was, are we seeing fewer bidding wars, Tracy? But you already have established a baseline that we are. Okay.
Yes.
So yes, we are seeing fewer bidding wars. We're still seeing bidding wars, but maybe not 23 offers, right? We're seeing 3 offers, 2 offers.
Why do you think that is?
I think that people think that it's not a right time to buy, that a lot of the buyers are tired and don't want to get involved in a bidding war. I think they feel like, this is my max. Like, if I can't compete, then I'm not even going to get in the game. I think people are saying, I'm going to wait for the market to shift, right? What do you think?
Well, I'm going to lead you to what I think.
Go ahead.
Earlier in the summer, when we saw, this kind of frantic activity going on, do you think that the buyers and the buyer brokers and the realtors in the market knew how to deal with this type of activity?
I think that most of them did not. I think most of them didn't know how to write an offer for the market that they were in. They were writing an offer like it was 2018, right?
Yeah.
I agree with that, since you led me there.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I think
they weren't competitive offers. Of the 23, that I got on that house early on when the bidding wars were at their highest, probably 4 or 5 of them were really written very competitively. The rest, I put them all on a spreadsheet, of course, for my seller, but really we were looking at maybe 4 offers to see who we're going to work with.
I think it's just like anything, Tracy. As you work through something that's going on, we could apply this to what's going on with COVID, right? As we learn, as we get more information, we evolve and we change. And that's my feeling about the whole bidding war thing, is that everybody's changed and adapted to the new normal. You're not seeing, I hate that term. I know. You gave me that look. I know. It's not a, so, but in the realtor community, let's just say, if there's going to be multiple offers on a property, there's going to be high demand for this property, and your client, is maybe wanting to do something that doesn't make sense in the current market conditions, there may be a little more education now than there was back then. This may not be that interesting of a topic, but I think it's we all adjust, right? And how quickly you can adjust to the current conditions is important. And I think I will say for our team, that's been great, because we do see so many transactions, and we see all these different, as we call them, experiences with people buying and selling, so we can adjust quickly. And we're doing this show every week as well, allows us to adjust quickly to see what's going on in the current market conditions. And I think
good insight, Tego.
And adapt to it. Yeah.
I think our buyer consult. So when somebody's interested in buying a house, I know there's a story we have about the steps, right? But when they're interested in buying a house, obviously getting somebody ready and preparing them for the process and how it works. And then knowing what their resources are and their tolerance for being in a bidding war and what they're able to do. Are they able to allow some lease back time for the seller so they know when they're moving out the house is really sold? Or maybe they need to buy a house and they need, a week in between so they can get this one closed, get their funds, and move to a new house.
Right.
Can they do that? But do they have other funds they can add in? Can they waive an appraisal waiver, do an appraisal waiver and not make it contingent upon that? So all these different things in the buyer consult, but then when we're working with them, we need to make sure we're looking at the right price homes so we leave that headroom for them. So if they need to offer over what it's listed at,
right,
that they can compete. So, there's a lot of, you're right, we've gotten
and
better
then
probably.
When you get to that point too, then there's also bringing in the lender if there's going to be a loan involved and making sure that they can qualify and do what's needed if it's over. The other challenge is if the appraisal doesn't meet the purchase price, can the loan still work? So
right.
There's that as well.
Right.
So Tracy, let's. We've had this list on our website for the longest time, and I think it's just a good time, beginning of the year, and there's a lot of refreshing going on at the beginning of the year, and so let's put this out there as 8 steps to buying a home. It's the buyer checklist, so it's 8 steps with sub-steps, but let's kind of rapid fire go through this and see if
sure,
we can go through this and
rapid fire. We never do that.
We can do it. We can do it.
They're on welcomehomeabq.com under buyer.
Under buyer resources.
Buyer resources.
Yep.
So 8 steps. So 1 is prepare to buy, right? Begin the process. Make sure you're ready to go, that now is the time. Resolving issues. What would that be, Tego? What kind of issues would you want to resolve?
Well, where your lease is, if you're renting, if you're already owning, do you need to sell first? It may be clearing up some credit issues, call Mike Ramos, and get your credit cleaned up. That may be part of the financing step as well. And I thought this was interesting. Make sure that all the parties involved in the purchase are on board. Now, we have seen that before where we have a family member, maybe a parent or something that's going to be a co-signer. And it seems like maybe they had a conversation, a casual conversation, and then all of a sudden somebody's out shopping for a home and the other party isn't quite 100% on board. So I think that's an interesting tip.
It is an interesting one. And we do see that even with couples, where one of the couple doesn't know that it's really happening as quickly.
Don't all you guys know that you just go along for the ride?
Somebody. So then, you're thinking about it, then, call us, meet with an agent.
Yeah,
right?
I think having that consultation, you talked about that a moment ago here in this broadcast, but, talking with the real estate agent, there has to be a level of trust between yourself as the buyer and the real estate agent. The real estate agent's job is not to sell you anything, correct?
Right. They're a fiduciary, right? They're there to work for your best interest. And, a lot of people think, Tego, that they should go straight to the listing agent, that they're going to save money somehow. And, we need to remind buyers that the listing agent works for the seller.
Correct.
And they have a duty to get the best deal for the seller.
Correct.
So usually that's, get your own buyer's agent, right? A buyer broker to help you and be working for you.
And just ask some of the tough questions. And, tough questions are fine if the real estate agent knows what they're doing. They'll be able to answer them.
So tough questions of the real estate agent that you choose. Is that what you mean? Yeah. So even as a buyer broker, you get to choose, right? And you want to choose somebody that's full-time in real estate, that really knows the ins and outs, that's been through many transactions, that you feel comfortable with and you feel like they're working for you, right?
Yeah. So the next step is figure out what your price range is. Get your financing figured out, and that may be talking to a lender. It may not be. It may be getting online and doing some calculators, because there's a bunch of them out there, and we have them on our website at welcomehomeabq.com.
So I would say,
go ahead.
Talk with a great local lender, because calculators don't know what type of loan you're best suited for. They don't know that you might be a VA person that's eligible, or you might be an FHA borrower versus conventional. Sometimes people think, well, I only have this much for a down payment. I don't have 20%, so I'm not going to be a conventional buyer. But there are conventional loans down to 3%.
Well,
down payment.
and so, you're saying these things like everybody just knows what a conventional loan is and what an FHA loan is and what a Fannie Mae is and what Freddie Mac is and what a VA loan is and what a USDA loan is. And so, yeah, that's why talking with a lender, and you did say it, local lender, somebody that you can meet face to face, it really does make a difference.
Right.
And the local lenders, they have a reputation to protect in the realtor community, as well as just their clientele base, and their rates are going to be as competitive as stuff you can find nationwide.
So, kind of a sidebar to the local lender thing. Walking into the bank that you normally bank with might not be the best local lender, right? A lot of those lending banks are actually out of state. They transfer you to somebody out of state. So, somebody local that has a reputation.
Yep, for sure. For sure.
So financing is a big piece of it. What we know is most people start with home searching.
Absolutely.
Right?
And that's number 4 on our list.
That's number 4. And that's my point, is starting with the home search before you've established, the type of loan, the down payment, closing costs, what price range you're in, what realtor's going to help you and give you, good solid advice. You're sort of putting the cart ahead of the horse.
But that's the fun part, is
know.
getting on these websites like ours or Zillow or any of these things and, driving around town and looking at for sale signs, which there's not a lot of them out there right now. But, actually, it is. And I will say, you think about when we started in the business and there were just a few real estate websites, right? That was one of our big successes early on, is we had a pretty powerful real estate website here locally in Albuquerque. And now, everybody has a website, right? But the ability to really narrow down different features that you want in a home and the benefits that you're going to get out of those features, you can really scroll down when you're looking at these online and start, the photos are so much better now. You've got 3D tours now. You've got so much more that you can do to determine what's right for you,
right,
before you actually even go out and start looking.
So I know how much fun it is to lurk on real estate websites and look at homes for sale. We do it ourselves, right? And great, get online, look at houses online, get familiar with what you like, what color palettes, what features really excite you when you look at a certain house. But don't start looking physically in houses and going to visit houses until the rest are in order, right?
Yeah. And one of the things that, in determining your requirements, just what we find all the time is that what you think you want and you think is a non-negotiable, in the end may be a negotiable depending on other features that you find in a home. And of course, price is always that trade-off as well.
So that's the next step, right? Determining your requirements in your home. And it's interesting because when we really get together as an agent with somebody who wants to start looking at homes and we really talk about how you live and how you entertain, that list of people's wish list really changes sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of people say, well, I need that guest bedroom. And I go, well, how many days a year do you have a guest? And a lot of times it's none or, 2.
2.
And you're like, okay, so you need that extra bedroom for the guest, where it's going to limit the number of houses you can consider because you need that one extra bedroom that's not going to be used except 2 nights a year. You could get a hotel room for them for 2 nights a year, right?
Right.
Obviously, we love to have people stay with us, but sometimes it doesn't make sense. But just, big backyard, what does that mean? Really working with the agent to drill down on how you live and how you intend to use the spaces and what's important to you. What are your hobbies and interests, and how do you use your house? Because a lot of times we have things, we need some backyard access. We need a place to park something.
Yeah, for sure.
But as your realtor, we need to know what those are so we can help guide it.
So the next piece is you actually start house hunting. It seems like that's what we've been talking about, but really it was just we were talking about determining needs.
Right.
And
so
then,
we're on step 5.
And now we're on step 5, which is start your house hunting, which again it's going to be done online in most cases. That's where you're going to start narrowing down what you want. You can preview those homes online, and generally what happens is You'll be previewing homes online. You'll be talking to us, your realtor, your buyer broker that's working with you or working for you, and they'll be sending you homes that may fit your criteria. And you'll start narrowing down a list, correct, Tracy?
Right.
And then you pick a day and you go out and look at homes.
Exactly. And that's fun, right? Obviously, it's great. And we love to do that. So when you look at homes, we know that it's very, you can be tainted by how the house smells and looks and with
Right.
people's own furnishings in them and things. So it's really important to look at the house from how you live. Right?
And just beware or be advised that it's very common that, you see a house online, you see the photos, they're beautiful. Photographers do an amazing job making homes look amazing, right? And then you get to the house and go, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be based on the photos that I saw online.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes a big difference. Okay, let's jump forward. Okay, we've looked at a bunch of houses and we've narrowed it down and we've picked one and we said, this is the one I want this house. What's the next step?
So moving quickly is very important right now. Making the decision and just going forward and having your agent put together that purchase agreement. So that's the next step, the purchase agreement. It's the offer that you want to have presented on your behalf to the seller. So it'll be, all the details about a purchase agreement, closing date, down payment, earnest money, any personal property that's in the house that you want to make sure stays with the house. Dates, deadlines, all of those things. And you then review the purchase agreement, get it signed. Your agent presents it on your behalf.
Yeah, the purchase agreements, the one we use, we have a standard form here in New Mexico. It's 16 pages, I think, right now. And there's all kinds of contingencies, all types of dates and deadlines for the buyers. Most of the stuff is for the buyer benefit in the sense of, giving the buyer the option to do all these different due diligence, financing contingency, appraisal contingency, inspections contingency, so on and so forth. So you'll go through all of that stuff in the purchase agreement.
Congrats. They accept your offer,
well,
right?
Yeah. You missed kind of one step, which is negotiate the deal, right?
Right.
There's a kind of a back and forth usually when you first do. Not always. Sometimes you'll send over an offer, the seller signs it, and away you go. So now it's the closing process or the escrow period, if you will, right, Tracy? And what happens there?
That's where we get all the contract to your lender. If there's a lender, we get it to title. The title work goes on. If there's a lender, you're getting them all your supporting documentation. If you haven't already, they're verifying employment, checking your all of your bank and savings statements, and just kind of making sure your file is complete. And you're going to be running around because you're going to be getting your past taxes to them and different things. And then we're going to be setting up a closing time, a time for you to sign to close on your house.
Inspections.
Oh, yeah. And it's inspections during that period. That's a big one. You're like trying to rush me.
Well, no, I wasn't. I mean, that's like the biggest one, right? It's we can't forget that because there can be multiple types of inspections. Generally there's a full home inspection where the buyer gets to, evaluate the, property condition so that they're comfortable with moving forward with the purchase. So there's a lot of stuff that happens from the moment you go under contract on a property until you actually go and sign and, transfer ownership. And so we could do 2 hours on just that process.
Right.
What we call the contract to close, period. And that's really where we have our team here, our transaction team that handles all those little details that are behind this, that are going on until you're ready to go. And of course, the last step, the fun part, you sign and you transfer ownership and you get keys. Yeah. So that was the 8 steps of buying a home. And I think what we go through about 150 steps really, because there is definitely a lot in having a trusted guide to navigate you through the process is a big deal, and that's why you need a buyer broker that knows how to do it.
Totally. So Tracy and Tego Venturi, Albuquerque Real Estate Talk here. 8+ years of doing this show.
Show
With
391.
Our Statomatic here, Tego. I thought you said 392 earlier.
Oh,
but-
that's right. 391 was the Christmas show, so this is 392. Yep, you're right. So, we're Venturi Realty Group with Keller Williams Realty, and you can reach us at 448-8888. Tracy, you got a couple homes you want to share.
I do. So we have a couple homes that are in that coming soon status, so they're not going to show up on Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com, but they are coming soon. And 801 Wellesley Drive Northeast, 87106. It's near UNM area. Coming soon for $280,000. It's, a 1,400 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1-car garage home. And that area, very desirable for a lot of people. It's just close to Summit Park area, kind of northeast UNM area.
Lomas and Carlisle area. Yeah.
So it's north of Central, which makes it northeast. It's north of Lomas even, I believe. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So 280,000 for 801 Wellesley Drive Northeast. If you're interested, give us a call, 448-8888. I know you all know already. You have to dial 505.
Yep.
And then the other one, 2735 Carson Road Northwest, which is just west of Old Town.
Mm-hmm.
Carson is right across from Hotel Albuquerque to the west towards the river. 390,000. It's an adobe. Very interesting property. It used to be a duplex, and the current owners made it back into a single-family home. So it's just over 2,100 square feet, and very unique, interesting property just west of Old Town. So great opportunity there.
By Sawmill and Old Town and that whole area there. So,
it's got the hardwood floors and beam ceilings and very interesting property. So 390,000, and that one's coming soon.
Awesome, Tracy.
And we talked last week about the Silva Saloon in Bernalillo. So if you missed that show, we also represent the Silva Saloon in Bernalillo, along with the liquor license and a piece of land that they also own. So really cool property.
So Tracy, there's going to be and there's going to continue to be a lot of stories about the affordability crisis, if you will, right? There's always a crisis, right? That's what I was saying earlier at the top of the show. There's always some sort of crisis going on. But in the real estate world now, with prices, have increased so much over the last few years, the big headline we see now is, the affordability crisis, right? And it is a challenge. You think about a market like, let's take San Francisco, because they're the ugliest of all when it comes to affordability. In San Francisco, and I had it here a moment ago, in San Francisco, they only 6% of let me get this straight, and I apologize. If you look at what the median home price is based on the median income, only 6% of the people in San Francisco, based on the median income, can afford to buy a median price house, which is $1.5 million, right? Just, logic is just doesn't make sense there. The thing that was interesting, though, when I start looking at this, and we look at Albuquerque compared to some of the other markets, Albuquerque is 65% of homes, that could be purchased based on the median income here in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Which is better than most markets around the country, especially in the West. The only markets in the West that are more affordable based on this criteria, and this comes from the National Home Builders Association, and I think Wells Fargo is a co-author of this study. They put it out every month, and it's an interesting piece of data because it gives you at least a comparison to other markets. But if you look at the West, only Douglas, Arizona, Fairbanks, and Anchorage, Great Falls, Montana, are more, quote, air quote, affordable than Albuquerque. Then you go down the list. We're very similar to Tucson and Yuma. We're very similar to Pueblo, Fort Collins.
Interesting. So that's good news, right? 65% of our population can afford the median price house.
Yeah, if you just look at bare stats, median income to median home price.
Yep.
And we know the reality is, that's just data, but at least it gives us a benchmark to compare ourselves to other markets. Because again, those markets, it's just data too. We know it's challenging right now, and there's only 600 or just about 700 homes on the market in the Albuquerque area as we sit here today, which is, we're going to start the year with the lowest number of homes on the market
since recording data.
Yeah, that I can find going back as far as I can find.
So there we are. Happy New Year, Eddie. We're
Happy New Year, yeah.
Yeah,